ein Kind, השלישי kaputt. קדימה!
Good evening and welcome to this evening's program of Mabat Sheni. Our choice of an opening theme for the new season caused many a raised eyebrow, even among our most avid viewers. An entire program devoted to the theater, they wondered. After all, Mabat Sheni is supposed to deal with the here and now, with current events, with real life, not illusion, not the theater. And besides, why go and look for drama? The very lives we lead are one long theatrical event. The young people of the Haifa Municipal Theater represents an effort to bring the theater closer to real life, to the here and now. Relevant theater is what they sometimes call it. The theater is a metaphor on the very essence of our lives. Real theater, after all, is supposed to try to understand what makes up our life. It has to expose and stimulate our thoughts and feelings. This is precisely what happened with the Haifa Theater this summer as it invaded the northern part of Israel, the Galilee, for 1 week, transforming the local residents into viewers and actors, the recreation centers into debate platforms on such issues as the Holocaust, the territories, racism, and democracy. But as so often happens in the theater, it all began in a much lighter vein, with the parade in the spirit of Shakespeare through the city of Kiryat Shmone. The residents of Kiryat Shmone, a development town in the Galilee, had quite a surprise in store when they woke up one day last summer. A Scottish band had come to town. The band leader was actor Avraham Moore. For 1 whole week, the Haifa Theater took over the Galilee Panhandle. In the summer of 1984, Kiryat Shmone is a peaceful town. The shellings are now only a painful memory, as well as a relentless reminder of the danger lurking from the border not far away, Lebanon. Perhaps the theater will succeed in attracting even those for whom the stage is a form of recreation taken from another world, and William Shakespeare no more than a strange and unfamiliar name. The boundaries will become vague, and it won't always be clear just where the world ends and the stage begins.
גם אם המושל לאורנטו הוא אביה ושניהם מאור אחד, היא לא תסכים בעד שום עול שבעולם שפרצופו השעיר יושב על כתבה.
אני מתפלאה שאתה מוסיף לדבר, אדון בנדיק.
On stage in a performance of Much Ado About Nothing, 3 characters are making their presence felt. Zev Revach as Benedict, determined to keep out of every woman's reach. Yona Elian as Beatrice, equally determined to keep out of the reach of any man.
היעלה בדעתך שהזלזול ימות כל עוד הוא יכול לסעוד את ליבו בנתח שמן כמו אדון בנדיק?
The third star is William Shakespeare.
אם אתה תבוא במחיצתה.
אם כן העדיפות גם היא אשת תהפוכות, אבל דבר אחד אינו מוטל בספק, אני אהוב על כל הנשים. חוץ ממך.
Act 1. Much Ado About Nothing.
אוהב אישה.
העדיפות עצמה תהפך לזלזלת אם אתה תבוא במחיצתה.
The Haifa Theater does not confine itself to an ivory tower. If the mountain doesn't come to Shakespeare, let Shakespeare come to the mountain.
חוץ ממך. האמת היא שאיני אוהב אישה. ולוואי והיה סוסי זריז כלשונך. המשיכי בדרכך, אני גמר.
אתה תמיד גומר כמו סוס שלח.
Noam Semel, director of the Haifa Theater, looks into the possibility of putting on a play right at the factory. An agreement is reached to hold a performance on the lawn outside the factory or in the dining hall, in Hebrew or perhaps in Arabic. From the standpoint of the Haifa Theater, the Galilee is like a stretch of parched territory thirsting for its first rainfall. Noam Semel, director of the Haifa Theater. They couldn't understand because in their entire lives they had never once been to the theater. This couldn't happen in Haifa because almost every worker in the Haifa area and the outlying towns visits the theater occasionally, whether if it's on a subscription ticket subsidized by the plant, or as a regular subscriber, or to get together of the workers with the actors. Of the 25,000 subscribers of the Haifa Theater, 15,000 are factory workers. I believe in art and culture as educational values. Through them, you can convey social messages and create a better society. Act 2, The Theater and History, the Vilna Ghetto, 1943. Theater audiences in Kiryat Shmona study a dramatized documentary chapter in the annals of Nazi cruelty and sadism.
בראבו. את הבן אדם הזה אני אוהב. כל זמן שאני אוהב אותו הוא יחיה. מה זה? לא מצדיק.
Kittel, the Nazi officer in charge of the ghetto, charts his sadistic course through Vilna. In the ghetto, he meets the members of the theater, that miraculous company which came into being and operated in subhuman conditions in the darkest hour of the Holocaust.
פתאום בתוך מרתף. מה יש בנרתיק הזאת?
The deadly riddle.
תשובה לא נכונה תעלה ביוקר.
השמייסר.
The Schmeisser. Sheer torment.
השמייסר. מה בנרתיק ההוא?
Weisskopf, the Jew who cooperates with the Nazis, is eager to placate those in charge.
השמייסר. הסקסופון.
Riddles on death and art. Manifestations of fear and horror. For weeks, the leading singer in the ghetto, שהועלה, has been performing in a theater established by the survivors who remain in the Vilna ghetto. Anyone who didn't work would be sent to his death. Those who acted and sang did so as a way of letting their souls provide for their bodies. Kittel loved the nightingale of the ghetto. This is a documentary account based on historical facts. Ghetto by Yehושע Sobol will force viewers in the Galilee to come to grips with the horrors of the Holocaust and its dilemmas. One of the people in the audience turns to Irina Lusky, a Vilna ghetto survivor now living in Israel, and tells her of the apprehension he felt before deciding to see the show. He explains how difficult it is for him to contend with the subject of the Holocaust. Irina Lusky replies, I don't believe anyone can actually feel and think the way we do. You're a sensitive human being, which is why it leaves such an impression on you. But I think our children ought to know about our roots, about where we came from. We were afraid to tell them, and they were afraid to ask us because of the risk of hurting us. But we have to talk about it, because without a past, there can be no future. I think that one of our greatest mistakes was in not talking about it. Dubka Waldhorn, Vilna ghetto survivor. When we arrived here in '46 and I was so filled with the urge to tell people what had happened, they didn't want to listen. They asked me, why didn't you run away if you had so much nerve? As Kittel puts it so well in the play, for any one person disappearing from the camp, they would have killed 50. In this play, we saw how it happened to 10 of them. I escaped from the camp later on because I knew they were about to exterminate us. Under so-called normal circumstances, who would have dared to escape? Late at night, after the show, people crowd around the stage on which Ghetto was performed in the Sneer Theater in Kiryat Shmona. As they listen to living testimony by survivors of the Vilna Ghetto, the participants hear the survivors' anger and find themselves forced to deal with a bitter accusation. The liquidation of the Vilna Ghetto took place a few days later. I don't remember how many. One thing I know, and you can take my word for it, is that people didn't want to hear about what happened. But now, I don't know why, maybe because our generation is dying out, maybe because the Germans are now claiming that all they burned in Auschwitz was fleas, not human beings. Now, all of a sudden, the world is waking up. In America, it's even more noticeable. I don't know why people here are still reluctant to talk about it openly. A member of the audience interrupts her. Micha Tamari, Kiryat Shmona. That's not true. My daughters are 12 and 14, and they're very familiar with the subject. We've had a series on television, too, and they know all about it. 6 million is not something to take lightly. I want to be sure that neither my children, nor myself, nor anyone else ever has to go like this. And that says it all. The second thing I want is for my kid to have an ethical code which is universal, of thou shalt not kill, and so on and so forth. That's good. As soon as those two things go together, I think I have some small insurance policy. But when some people nowadays try to lead our hands from this position to this one, then even without having to go into a lengthy analysis of it, I know it's a very dangerous thing. Menachem Amit, Kiryat Shmona. The reality of the Jewish ghetto in Vilna is liable to recur, just like the reality of any other ghetto, whenever a situation arises where people are forced to fight for their very lives. And that kind of human reality is beyond race, beyond time, beyond any specific Holocaust, which was, of course, a tragedy, especially for the Jewish people. But to my mind, the real question is whether we are learning the historical lessons for society from the fact that such situations can happen to human beings everywhere and may happen all over again whenever the reality is like what existed in the ghetto. Fire and steel, metal and flames. These faces of hard-working laborers at the Ordan plant near the northern town of Chatzor HaGalit are scenes out of a different play, taking place right here and now.
מה הפך יהודים? מה היללה? קשה, קשה. מתי ליהודים לא היה קשה? נו, תגידו לי. הקושי בונה אותנו, יהודים נותן לנו כוח. קחו אותי לדוגמה. גם אני יכולתי היום לעמוד ולבכות, סיבות לא היו חסרות לי. מה הייתי לפני המלחמה? פועל הריק פשוט, בעל חנות קטנה ועלובה. מה אני עכשיו? מנהל השניידרשטובה. הגרמנים עושים אצלי הזמנות, קונים אצלי מלבושים. בקיצור, מפעל ענק, כמו זה. ומיום ליום אני הולך ונעשה יותר גדול. יש שכל, יש. בדיוק. יש לך שכל. וייסקופ. בגלל זה קוראים לי וייסקופ. אני רוצה לספר לכם עוד משהו מההצגה הזאת, גטו.
הגטו רחוק ומופשט. The ghetto is remote and abstract. Weisskopf, Rami Danon, is trying to bring it to life for the industrial workers in terms taken from everyday life. He suggests the possibility of the ghetto being not only a place, but a concept. One of the workers tries to define a ghetto, when they don't let you out of wherever you live. Rami Danon sums up, a ghetto can exist here and now, too. The distance between Vilna and Chatzor HaGalit is immense, and yet they have something in common. Spiritual sustenance is crucial to survival.
זמן קשה אכזר, אוי לימים וללילות. אוי קינדר לך זמן קשה אכזר, אוי לימים וללילות.
After all, that's exactly what people felt in the Vilna ghetto when they founded the theater which could save them from annihilation. On the face of it, what's the point of a play when people are faced with the horrors of the Holocaust? Even on the walls of the ghetto, there were those who wrote, "In a cemetery there can be no theater." But actually it was the theater of all things that brought a new feeling of vitality to the ghetto and strengthened the inmates in the face of imminent death.
לומר זאת לכולם, אתה הולך שיקור, הרוס חרחר, אתה חושב מה זה קרה פה לעולם, לא זה לא הזמן לחשוב, ענף השאלות. זה זמן קשה אכזר.
אוי לימים וללילות. אוי קינדרלך, זמן קשה אכזר. אוי לימים וללילות. אוי קינדרלך, זמן קשה אכזר. אוי לימים וללילות.
On the following morning, in the marketplace of Kiryat Shmona, you hear that the demand is even greater than the supply. Our reporter interviews one of the residents of Kiryat Shmona, asking if, after having the theater in town for a full week, they had taken advantage of it and had seen any of the plays. We saw Much Ado About Nothing by Shakespeare and the play about the ghetto. Which did you like better? Much Ado About Nothing. It was very nice. You didn't like Ghetto? Not as much. It was a lot sadder than Much Ado. Act 3, Tormenting Questions.
שוב נשחט חסר הישע ושותקים כולם העולם שטוף ברשע, זהו העולם.
Why did everyone keep silent? Who were the traitors? How were the helpless victims slaughtered?
הררים, גברים, נעמים לכל ימותו, חד לצוררים. הבוגדים שבקרבנו, יד נותנים לצער, כעלה נידף עמנו, כחציר נבצר. שוב נשחט חסר הישע, ושותקים כולם.
תכף ומיד להפסיק.
After the show in Chatzor Haglilit and Kiryat Shmona, the debate will continue far into the night. The questions have been asked many times before. The participants are new. Omri Nitzan, artistic director, Haifa Theater, asks a Holocaust survivor about their having been led as sheep to the slaughter. I want to tell you something that may hurt you. I remember a scene, and it pains me to talk about it. When I saw that picture of our boys in captivity with their hands on their heads, you see that things like that still happen. Or the 11 athletes who were killed. So what do you call that? Is it any different? And you forget that back then you were dealing with people who were broken. The Germans had brutalized them mentally as well, while here we had youngsters of 19 and 20 faced with armed enemies. What do you call that? Have you forgotten that scene? Kittel the Nazi, and with him Jacob Gens, head of the Jewish police, the Judenrat, returned to the ghetto.
גבר ואישה מתחתנים, מולידים ילד אחד. יש ריבוי או אין ריבוי?
אין ריבוי.
יפה. עושים 2 ילדים, יש ריבוי?
2 ילדים עדיין אין ריבוי.
3 ילדים.
תרגיל בהישרדות.
An exercise in survival. A conversation between Kittel and Jacob Gens about the third child action.
ואם הפירר ציווה לעצור את הריבוי הטבעי של העם היהודי, אז הילד השלישי הוא?
מיותר.
כן. מיותר. ידעתי שאתה תפתור לי את הבעיה, גנץ. אז קדימה, גנץ.
מהו גנץ?
What is Gens?
משתף פעולה בזמן.
A despicable collaborator? Or someone who tried to save whatever little he could?
מהו קיטל?
What is Kittel?
Ein Vater, eine Mutter, ein Kind, השלישי kaputt. קדימה!
מפלצת או
A monster? Or a person twisted by society, by the system and culture in which he lived?
נחמדים ורגילים וחרוצים וחיוביים, והם נגררו. וזה הדבר המסוכן, ומזה צריך להיזהר. הם נגררו אחרי מנהיג.
לא יעזור לנו לעשות...
Aaron Tabori, actor in the Haifa Theater. It won't do us any good to make the Nazis into demons, to talk of another planet, to pretend that it happened over there, that it couldn't happen here. It couldn't happen anywhere else. Were the Poles any better?
דרמה בתוך דרמה.
A drama within a drama. An uproar on stage. The Holocaust survivors are threatening to walk out. The Nazi atrocity cannot be explained.
הם היו מפלצות. רגע, תוכל לתת לי לדבר? את יכולה לתת לי לדבר רגע?
But the younger people insist on trying to understand and to learn the historical lesson of Nazism.
הם היו מפלצות, לא, הם היו מפלצות אבל מפלצות אנושיות, הם בני אדם כמונו. כן, הם פשוט הביאו לידי ביטוי את היצרים שלנו, זה מה שקורה לבני אדם. רגע, זה מה שקורה לבני אדם שנותנים שחרור ליצרים הבלתי מרוסנים שלהם, הם הופכים למפלצות. כל בן אדם יכול להפוך למפלצת ברגע כל היצרים שלו באים לידי שחרור. לא, הם היו בני אדם רגילים. היטלר נולד לאישה.
היה להם ראש. אז אני אומר, דווקא אני אומר דבר אחר. הנאציזם גם משתמש.
The youngsters want to contend with the problem here and now. Doron Tavori, who plays the role of Kittel in the play Ghetto, goes on to say, we're not talking about something genetic. You can't say that all of a sudden a specific people acquires every monstrous trait of the human race. We have to deal with it. You aren't prepared to deal with it. Your generation isn't prepared to deal with it. You suffered through it, but now you can't bring yourself to sit with me and discuss this thing.
את לא מסוגלת לשבת איתי ולדבר על הדבר הזה. אני אמרתי שהנאצים לא היו...
Did I say that the Nazis weren't monstrous?
שלא היו מפלצתים? ודאי שהם היו...
Of course they were monstrous.
מה העניין? אני מנסה לעשות... אני
ראיתי את קיטל, הוא עזר לי לעלות על הרכבת.
אני מנסה לעשות...
Did I make them into something nice?
אני עשיתי אותם נחמדים. נו בבקשה. הדוקטור נרגע. עכשיו תשמעי.
Final act. The poison mushroom. An evening in the northernmost town, Metula, 1984. The actors of the Haifa theater depict the terrible rise of the Nazi animal. Germany, 1935. At the universities, a process of re-education is underway. The students and professors sing Nazi songs of praise to the Führer.
Führer, mein Führer, Adonai ציווה לי אותך.
Germany on Kristallnacht.
שמור נא והגן עליי לאורך ימיי. אתה, שהצלת את גרמניה מעומק יגונה. ברוך אתה הנותן לי את לחם יומי.
An upstanding German family says grace over the meal and thanks those who look out for the ordinary citizen. Not everyone is in the SS. Not everyone is in the SA. The synagogues are already going up in flames and the finer members of the community are disturbed by what Nazism has been doing to both the Jews and to the German people.
הנורא הוא שאיננו יכולים לעזור ליהודים. הנורא הוא שאיננו יכולים לעזור לעצמנו. מה שקורה לנו הרבה יותר גרוע ממה שקורה ליהודים.
המבוכה.
The bewilderment.
הפחד.
The fear.
אסור להתריע.
Don't sound the warning. Keep towing the line. Go back to the well-ordered meal in the well-ordered German home. From authentic texts written in that period in a satire by Brecht and Kästner, you learn that there is no automatic insurance against totalitarianism, that it can happen anywhere, and most important, that it happened there, because nobody dared to object.
ואז יום אחד מאוחר מדי. העקרונות שלך, אם בכלל חשת בהם, מתחילים לתבוע ממך מחיר יקר מדי.
הצרה היא
The trouble is that the catastrophe took shape ever so slowly and almost invisibly, starting with trivial matters.
בני הקטן כמעט תינוק עדיין. כאשר אמר יום אחד, חזיר יהודי. אבל האירוע הזה מוטט את הכל בבת אחת. ואז אתה רואה פתאום שהכל השתנה, והשתנה לחלוטין מתחת לאפך. אתה רואה מה אתה? מה עשית? או יותר נכון, מה לא עשית? כי זה בעצם מה שנדרש פה מכולנו. לא לעשות שום דבר. אילו היה אז אחד שהיה קם. היו גם האחרים קמים, אולי. אלא שאיש לא קם. נזכר עכשיו בקוד ולבך נשבר. מאוחר מדי.
Sammy Michael, author and playwright, explains, what I say is that these phrases exist within every one of us. I'm not saying this out of self-hatred. It exists almost everywhere in the world today. The discussion in Metula after the poison mushroom began as an activity related to the theater, but soon developed into a scathing political debate. The moderators of the Haifa theater deliberately drew painful, often simplistic comparisons between then and now. Even in a democracy, when people start believing that it's a religion and that I can sleep in peace because religion will take care of me instead of my taking care of it, that's where the danger begins. I don't doubt the strength of Israeli democracy, but I'm worried about our complacency, our inclination to think that this democracy is strong enough, secure enough, and that it could never happen here. It's happening already. Examples by all means. The Jewish terrorism organization whose members intended to bomb Arab buses, its members are now receiving extensive and enthusiastic support.
ואם אלו הן המצוות שמובילות אותנו לפוצץ נשים וגברים וילדים בתוך אוטובוסים, מצוות האלו הן מצוות של גזענות שהן רחוקות מאוד מהמצוות האמיתיות של היהדות.
מישהו רוצה להגיב על הדברים?
The comparison is unsettling. Some people in the audience will accuse the moderators of distorting Jewish morality, of perpetrating a moral and historical absurdity. Zami Ravid of Metula. I think we seem to be losing our sense of proportion in the comparison between what happened in Germany with its Beethoven and its Heine and all its other geniuses, where the Jews never threatened to undermine them or destroy them or throw them into the sea. And on the other hand, you have the state of Israel, whose first duty is to survive. And there are some people who don't want this country to survive. And when you talk about a bus in the territories, I don't understand what you mean. What I do understand is a bus in Jerusalem. I don't know why a Jew can only travel from Ma'aleh Adumim to Nablus by day in a convoy and armed, while the Arab doesn't have to worry.
אוטובוס בשטחים, ידידי היקר, זה אוטובוס עם ילדים, עם פועלים, עם נשים, ולא אוטובוס עם המחבלים. תן לי לגמור, אני שמע אותך בשקט. רגע, לא, תסלח לי, שמע אותך בשקט.
שאלה קצרה, מה זה שטחים?
תן לי לגמור ואחר כך...
רק שאלה, מה זה שטחים?
ביהודה ושומרון שלך, אוקיי?
שלנו וגם שלך מורלה.
תרשה לי רגע.
אני ממש מתבייש בתשובתו של מרדכי בר-און, שאומר לו, יהודה ושומרון שלך.
דני מירן, יסוד המעלה.
יהודה ושומרון הם של כל עם ישראל, היום במדינת ישראל. נקודה. זאת דעתי. עכשיו, כשמרדכי בר-און בא ואומר לחבר, אומר לו, שלך יש קרע בינינו. יש תהום בינינו, שלך. מה זה? איפה אנחנו נמצאים? זה שלך ושלי. יש במדינה הזאת ממשלה שנבחרה, וכל מה שהיא מחליטה, כן, מחייבת כל אזרח במדינת ישראל. היום, נקודה. מחר תהיה ממשלה אחרת, ולא חשוב מי תהיה, תכובד על ידי כל אזרחי מדינת ישראל, נקודה.
אבל ההשוואה
But the abstract comparison between then and now, based on the common notion of totalitarianism and dictatorship, persists. How can you compare, asks the head of the Metula local council.
יושב ותמה ואומר, תראו, קהל גדול כזה של חיילים ושל תושבים ואנשים מהגליל, שומעים איך שבאים ומשווים בין נאצים לבין יהודים.
אני אישית
לא חושב
Gil
חס
Alon, actor in
וחלילה
the Haifa theater.
שיש להשוות נאצים ויהודים.
השחקן גיל אלון
Actor Gil Alon is trying to find a basis for agreement.
איש שלובש
He explains that what interests him is the need to understand how a man wearing the SS insignia turns into a monster.
אני אישית חייב
He
להבין
feels that such a development is possible anywhere, and that this is what should make us think and ask questions.
אנחנו עשויים אותו דבר בעצם. איך בן אדם כזה, רק שהוא נמצא
What
במדינה
is the source of whatever it is that makes a human being turn into a monster?
כאילו הדבר המפחיד והמוזר שהיה בכל החקר הזה של פנים אותם אנשים מפלצתיים זה שתחילתם באדם שנולד כמשהו טהור, שהתפתח לדבר הזה. זאת אומרת שההתפתחות היא אפשרית בכל מקום. וזה הדבר שלדעתי צריך לעורר את המחשבה ואת השאלות הנוקבות. חס וחלילה לא ההשוואה, אלא מאיפה צץ היסוד הזה שפתאום אדם הופך למפלצת, שבמקרה הנורא והיום היה בגרמניה, וקרו כבר מקרים במקומות אחרים.
אני רוצה להודות לכם על מה שעשיתם. אני חושבת שאתם עשיתם דבר חשוב מאוד.
Esti, a member of a northern kibbutz, thanks the actors in the theater. I think you've done something very important. That's what makes the theater as strong as it is. It can sound a warning. The fact that you've come to sound the warning is encouraging, and it's a way of preventing us from closing our eyes. Unfortunately, there are things in this country that remind us of what happened in Germany. And just by way of an example, we read in the paper only last week how Jews made Arabs kneel down, how they degraded them, told them to bark like dogs, to sing the national anthem, and whatnot. Terrible humiliations. Our country is not Germany, but in order to make sure that our country doesn't develop in that direction, we have to warn people. We have to cry out, and the theater is that cry. Thank you for what you've done. Epilogue. The end of the ghetto. Open questions about the meaning of the Holocaust then and now.
פנים אליי, כולם! חשבתם שהוציא אתכם להורג? אחרי ההופעה הבימתית הנהדרת שלכם? בימים הקשים האלה היא גרמה להתרוממות רוח נדירה. וזאת הודעתי לכם. ציוויתי להביא לכם סיר מלא ריבה ולחם לבן לחיי ההצגה הבאה. בואו. תתכבדו. מה? ריבת דומדמניות מעולה. בואו. לא רוצים לאכול איתי?
The Vilna Ghetto Theater has ended its tour of the Galilee. Kittel is pleased. The actors are pleased. Now they expect to be rewarded. It was just a little more than theater. Almost, as the poet put it, the whole country a theater, and its people, the protagonists.
גמור מהר, גמור מהר. היום אתה מלבוש חשוב. גמור מהר, גמור מהר. מחר אתה סמרטוט עלוב. כלום ממך לא יישאר. היום אתה על הבמה. מחר אתה בערימה. אז גמור מהר, גמור מהר.
By sheer coincidence, this past Saturday, September 1st, marked the 45th anniversary of the outbreak of World War II, which just goes to show us how a theater may start out with a light-hearted comedy and wind up in the throes of a heated political debate. One point in passing, we couldn't help being deeply impressed by the dynamic quality and original approach of the management and actors of the Haifa Theater.